All right. Hi. Hello, my friends. Welcome to another episode of the Salt Circle. I am your host, Daniela, and first I wanted to apologize for being MIA for the last 2 weeks. But I'm back. And I just wanted to say, I've thought about you guys and, thank you for being patient. I definitely wanted to, try to make a video this Wednesday in particular. If you are new here, every Wednesday is when we discuss things about death, dying, and bereavement. Um, Mondays we talk about self-sorcery and shadow work. And if you're not new here and you have been here before, thanks for coming to hang out again, my friend. It's always nice having you around. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share if you find anything I talk about, somewhat, whatever, useful. So I guess we'll just get right into it. Like I said, every Wednesday is when we do introspective and healing work that surrounds death, dying, or grief. I If you've known me, I have dogs. I've always had dogs. And one of my dogs who was very, very old and who was declining, I had to make the decision to put down. And I know, you know, as a pet owner, this is kind of an inevitable. you expect that your pet will die at the end of their life and that you will be, somewhat in control. It's not like no one wants their dog to just run away and never come back or get hit by a car or, whatever the case may be. So, it's something that all pet owners, dog or otherwise, we all kind of tacitly agree to when we enter into this, companionship of taking care of an animal and having an animal with us for their entire life. Um, so it's really important as a pet owner to be in tune with your pet and to, kind of be able to make that call when, you see that they are having more bad days than good, or they're really not, behaving in a way that is conducive to a happy and healthy life. And it's hard to make that decision. And I really want to make this a safe place where anyone who is a pet owner or who might have to deal with this in the upcoming future, or, if you just want to think about it or apply it to other areas in your life, this is a safe place where we can really think about these things and play around with these ideas and just be curious about, well, what should I expect? What is it like? What does happen? Um, what I really don't like, just in general, is being up against the situation and having zero point of reference, zero framework. They don't go over this stuff in home economics class. There's really like no phone number to call for moral or emotional support. I guess if you have friends and family, that's always clutch, always, rely on those support networks. But if you don't have that, and if you've never gone through it before, really what do you do? What can you expect? And it can really throw you for a loop because you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. But when you're pretty emotional, it can be hard to do the right thing, right? So, really want everyone who, joins to be able to just kind of feel free of shame or of judgment and just ask the questions or just say the thing, how do I know when it's time? I'm afraid of making a mistake and putting my dog to sleep too early. Like these are all very valid and very real questions that pet owners, can have. None of them are bad. None of them are taboo. You're not a bad pet owner for thinking, is it my animal's time? That's kind of one of the things that as a pet owner, we're all going to have to do. You know what I mean? A lot of people choose to not handle the, dying process. They just kind of drop their dog or their pet off at a vet and let them get euthanized, let them get cremated, and, just pay a bunch of money and don't really even think about it. I was not, and I am not the kind of person that will do that. I have a bugaboo because of my own bullshit and my own trauma. I need to make sure my loved things, my loved ones, they will die at home. And that's because both my grandparents, uh, it's been a family thing. Everyone wants to die at home. All right. So when as a dog owner, looking at my dogs and seeing them get older and slower and fatter over, the last 10, 12 years, it always, came into my mind that I will have them die at home. I'm not going to bring them to a vet to just, make it sterile and dehumanized and as cold and distant as possible. I'm just not that person at the immediate and extreme expense of myself. It's a brutal emotional toll, and that's why a lot of people don't want to deal with it, which I get, but I feel like you owe it to your pet to be there with them at the end. And, this video, I really want to demystify what it's like having to make that call, making the call, and then going through with it. Because I gotta tell you, you're probably not expecting, half the things that are going to happen. So that's why I just kind of want to go through it all. And if I start crying hysterically, please bear with me. So let me just grab my notes really quickly. So, one of the things I really wanted to touch upon was how to recognize when it's time, when it's the end. And like I said, if you've known me, I've had my dogs, my two dogs, Buddha and Bruce. I've had them since I was in college, since I was like 18. I will be 32 pretty soon, like next week. So I've had them literally for a very long time, these dogs. Literally they've been there with me through so much, and they have been, for the most part, more family to me than my own family or any other human. So I've been very, very attached to these dogs. We've traveled across the country. I've literally, when been faced with like, hey, rent is being raised, nowhere will take pets. Instead of getting rid of my dogs, I was like, all right, I'll just move out of state, whatever. We'll start my life over again. Because I just love my dogs. I really, really did. And one of my dogs, Bruce, aka Piggy, my pit bull, he was always, you could always tell he had problems with his hips. Even when he was young, when he was like 3, 4, you could always see it when he ran. He would limp a little bit. And over the years, it would get worse. And when he was really young, he was super, super dark, dark brown and this deep orange. And then as he got older, he just became more and more beige. He really lightened up. The dark patch on his face became white. Um, all of his orange left. He literally just became tan. He used to be this big, meaty meatball barrel of a fucking dog, huge, just dumb with muscle, right? And as the years went on, he got skinnier no matter how much you fed him. And then eventually kind of looked like his skin was dripping off of his body. The old age, I think, because when we stay with our pets and we live with them for so long and we see them every day, it's so incremental and it's so slow, and we get used to these little concessions that we make and the little bits of gray that pop up, the limps, the bumps, the lumps that they get when they get older. They're like little Polish men, they just get lumpy. I don't know. So cute. Their eyes start to get foggy and clouded and not as sharp and crisp, and then they just kind of get clouded over. They stop listening as well because, they just can't hear you as well. Um, One of the things that really, let me back up. So I was very used to seeing my big meatball of a dog turn into just a big old man. Just couldn't hear, couldn't see. And then it turned into this big old man who couldn't hear and couldn't see, was having trouble getting up, and he was having trouble sleeping. He'd cry through, wake up crying, and it's because he was sore. And then, he'd go back to sleep eventually. And then it kind of progressed to, I can't take him for hikes anymore because he won't be able to lift his head the next day. He gets too sore. And things, I stopped taking him out like that. We just go on little walks. He stopped listening because he couldn't hear, he couldn't see. I stopped calling him, whatever. He's just going to stay at home. And before I realized it, my old dog, who I saw couldn't really get up, but I was just getting more carpets and I was helping him in all these different ways that I could. I realized he was actually getting lost in the house. And he looked confused. He looked really scared and uncertain and confused. And I thought, well, it's just because he can't see. We need to have, the lights on more. And then it turned into, he can't even lift his head. He can't see. He's confused. He's not really eating. And even then, I didn't want to, because I can cope. I can get more rugs. I'll clean up more pee. I'll handle it, right? Because I love him. He's my dog, and I've been doing this for so long. It's not even a thought to me. But I had to really take a look at it when he was cowering under the kitchen table because he couldn't figure out where to go. And there wasn't even any chairs under the table. It's a table in the middle of like basically an empty room. And he could not figure out where to go. You couldn't guide him. He was falling all over himself, just crying, and his eyes weren't even that he just couldn't see, they looked like they were just failing, like, they were getting so droopy and the insides were coming out, and they'd bleed sometimes, and again, I was just like, "Yeah, this is my dog, this is what happens, he's getting old, whatever." But it got to a point where it's like this decline is so severe, and it happened within about, he always had like little weird eyes, and he's always kind of crunchy and sore. But when he couldn't really stand and his eyes looked like they were turning inside out and he was getting confused, that all kind of took place in about a 2 week span. It was really severe. And this was a dog that I traveled across the country with. I had in college. He came to frat parties with me. He was a tough, meaty dog. And now he was literally just not having a good time. And I had to make the really, really adult decision to say, are there more good days, or is everything just going to be bad days, not eating, scared shitless, pissing on yourself? You can't get up, you can't walk, you're not sleeping well. Is that all you have for the next however long until you have a heart attack? Until you get a cancer and you get a mass that kills you, like, what is the end here, right? And it was hard, I didn't care, I don't wanna listen to it, and it wasn't until someone came to the house and was like, "Holy shit, your dog is bad. This is bad." And I took a cold look, from the other room, and I was like, "Yeah, he really is, he he's bad, like, he's just not having a good time." And even, like, when he'd go to sleep at night, he looked like his neck was just all fucked up, and you do anything to make him comfortable, get more pillows, get more blankets, get more beds, make a cocoon, make a nest, put him in it, sleep next to him. It didn't matter. His body was failing and it hurt. And, as much as I wanted to hold on to him, did not want I didn't want to see him that way. As much as I wanted to keep seeing him, to see him that pathetic, and I love that dog, but that was the real definition of what he was. He was absolutely fucking pathetic. It was sad, it was fucking sad. So I had to call it, and I right then and there, I was like, "Okay, let's really, do what we gotta do right now. Let's at least Google what our options are. We don't have to make a decision right now, but the end point of this dog's life is not going to just be he falls asleep one day and, oh, that's it, no pain. No, he's suffering actively. And I looked around, and you could, bring your dog to a vet, and my dog can't even navigate an empty hallway with me right there trying to guide him. Like, I'm not getting him into a car to what, traumatize him? And I already thought, I was like, I'm gonna let him die at home. Let me have a vet come to the house. And to my surprise, they do that, which is a huge fucking relief. Trust me, it's a huge relief. It makes the process a lot easier. And I think it's a lot easier on the pet as well when it's not an unfamiliar setting, unfamiliar smells, surrounded by other animal smells. It could be very stressful, especially if they can't see or hear, they can't react that well. You don't, I don't know. That's just me, right? So it was really, really difficult to, make those Google searches. I was sobbing hysterically, and there wasn't even a decision that was made, but I found a vet. It was a company that you pay, and I'll tell you for real, and I'm in Missouri, and it was 350 American dollars to have this vet come to the house and put my dog to sleep. And if I was not able to dispose of the body, for another 300 and something dollars, they would transport him to get cremated, and then they would bring his remains back to me. I don't have 600 and $700 like that. So, okay, I will bury him in the backyard. That was all right. That will keep him forever in the backyard. I will do what I can. And it was very depressing because I always envisioned myself having my own house or property where I could bury my dogs at this point in my life, but I'm just not there yet. So I can't afford to cremate him and just bring his remains with me forever. So we have to bury him, right? Which was also a very difficult thing to realize because I think that's why I was just like, just wait until I get my shit together. I'm trying so hard. Whatever. Not gonna internalize it. So they let you schedule on their website and you just pay ahead of time, which is, nice. But, they also have packages like what kind of keepsake you want. If you want, to bring your dog to their cremation place, you get a discount. I don't know, right? So it was $350 to book this traveling vet to come to the house. And we booked it for 8 p.m. because I work until 5:30 and I wanted to I don't have PTO, so I really wanted to spend as much time I could with my dog. This was a Monday. This was 2 weeks ago. And I get a text message that she's like, "Oh, the scheduling thing was fucked up. I can't do 8 p.m." And I'm like, "I literally can't do earlier." She's like, "I'm sorry, like it's, a scheduling glitch. I don't work that late." I'm like, I'm begging you, like I work late. Like I need some time with my dog. I don't want to get out at 5:30 and you put him down at 6." Like I was like, "I can't." So she's like, "All right, how about 7:30?" I was like, "Thank you." So keep that in mind, bureaucracy and glitches and human error and stupid bullshit with apps and forms. It's inevitable, don't internalize it. It's not anyone's fault. It's just another thing to deal with, just be aware. So scheduled that, and the day before I really spent time with him. I tried to make him comfy. I slept on the floor with him. I cried all fucking night. The next day I went to work and he was in a bad way. Like he was bad. And I couldn't even work. I was just crying at my desk. So I went home. Trying so hard not to cry. So I went home early and I ended up taking Bruce on like a really fun adventure. Just one last time because it really was, not just a way for me to spend time with him, but it was also a way to cope with the loss, I think. So he loved car rides. So I made sure to take him in the car and we went to the dog park. And, I at that point was kind of just like, am I making the right decision? Like, he's walking. Maybe I should wait. And I honestly, when I took him out to the dog park, it really like hit me so hard how bad he was. He couldn't even walk in a straight line. He was like just trying so hard, just fumbling, just all over, just he couldn't there was a big shit, right? Right in front of him, and my dog is sniffing everywhere. And then does this big loop. And then then it finally finds this shit. And I'm just looking at him and I'm like, neurologically, I think it really set in that like he was probably like as like an dementia 80-year-old, like he really like he was, and it hurts to see that. And then the poignancy of he will not be here tomorrow. I will take my other dogs to this park, but this dog will not come. This is the last time for him. And we did one loop around and he was so tired. And I'm just like, I wish we could stay here forever, but like he really can't. He was not able to. And our dogs or our pets will never want to leave us. They'll always not want to say that they can't play. So it really like it comes down to us to make those executive decisions for their best interests and out of love. So we went back in the car and I got him ice cream. I also got him some bacon. We drove and he sat in the front seat and I got some really nice pictures. And then when we got home, he drank some water and basically just collapsed. He was just he looked so. And, I just hung out with him until the vet arrived. And she texts, like, "Oh, I'm here." And up until that point, I was just kind of like going through my phone and just hanging out with my dog and drinking wine and looking at all these videos. I have like 400 fucking videos of this dog over the last 13 years just on my phone, And really seeing his life, seeing the span of when I had him when he was a little tiny meatball of a puppy to now, and I'm cradling him and he's just all gray and saggy and just, oh, he can't even, he's just wheezing. I know that he had such a full life and it was so fun, right? I think the grieving process is also a lot of uh, grief and guilt. It's a lot of guilt too, guilt that I wasn't a better dog owner, guilt that there was no more time for me to be a better dog owner, guilt that I lost sight of the fact that my dog is going to die because all I have to do, I work so much. The guilt that comes along with grief can be really fucking profound and it can like sneak up and just hit you so hard in the stomach. Like you just got fucking picked out of nowhere. And you have to kind of just eat that grief because, or eat that guilt because it'll make you go insane. So you just kind of have to reconcile, like, yes, I wish I could have done more. And I realize that maybe I should have in certain points, but I have to accept the fact that there's no more time. And that can be really hard, even with an animal. And I think because we can't communicate with them, we can't get them to understand like we understand, it's hard for us to, because they don't even understand why they're old. They don't understand why they're hurting. They don't get that. They really don't understand. They're not understanding. So it can be really difficult. Um so the traveling vet texts me and she's like, "Yeah, I'm here." And that was a really it made me feel sick. It made me feel sick to my stomach that I was inviting someone in to take the life of my dog. And she was really nice though. So they are completely on your time frame. You can say, "Hey, I'm not ready. I need some more time." And they'll listen. So it's okay to be vocal. So what happens when they put your dog to sleep is that they basically give your dog two injections. The first is basically an anesthetic that puts them to sleep. And what's cute is that if your dog has, a habit of snoring, they're going to probably do that as well when they get that first injection because they're going to go deep, deep sleep. And, I was giving him bacon and ice cream and mozzarella cheese, giving him lots of love. I was petting him with his favorite brush. Um, his two brothers, the other dogs were there. I tried to not cry. I'm so sorry. She gave him that first injection and he went right to sleep. I even said, like, he has not been sleeping well for like the last 2 weeks. He hasn't slept really at more than an hour, and then he wakes up and he just cries. And it was nice to see him restful. It really was nice to see him just have that deep sleep. He
he probably I realized that I hadn't heard him snore, and he was always a snory puppy, and I don't even know how long, and I was like, wow, like he's finally able to rest. Oh, and he was such a good dog. He was so active. He was so fucking energetic. He was such a loud dog, and he was finally able to rest. So that was good. And then, they let the dog sleep and they say, "Hey, are you ready for the next shot?" So like I said, they give your dog two shots, and the first one is an anesthetic to put him to sleep, and the second shot is also an anesthetic. And this one just stops the heart pretty quickly too. I thought it would be much more of a prolonged breathing, just slows. No, it just stops pretty instantly. And then the vet will stay with you for a little while, like 10, 15, 20, 30. I don't know how long it was. It was a while. And she checks for heartbeats a bunch to make sure. And sometimes there'll be little twitches or sometimes little pieces of air escape. And that's normal. That's just kind of everything loosening and detensing and escaping. I remember right before the vet came too, I lit candles and I opened windows, and it was like the last warm day, which was nice to have all those windows open. Hearing the bugs too. It's nice in the moon air. Oh gosh. I don't want to ugly cry. I'm trying to get through this. I'm trying, I promise. Also, side note, I knew that morning that I wanted to bury the dog, right? I tried to dig a hole outside. That shit is hard. I'm all for female empowerment and like working out and shit. Could not do it. Could not fucking dig a hole. It was so incredibly hard. And you have to be careful of like, are there roots there? The different layers of soil. There is it like it's just thank goodness I had someone very dear to me was able to dig that hole and did it really quickly and made a it made a pristine ass hole, may I just say. But if you are looking to bury your dog on your land, just please make sure you're not with the dead animal and then like, all right, I'll go dig a hole. You're not just gonna go dig a fucking hole, all right, prospector. It's hard and you gotta plan that shit. Like, I'm lucky I had someone who could do it for me, but I would hate for someone else to not be so fortunate. Um, so the nurse, yeah, gave him the second shot, and really quickly his heart stopped and he stopped breathing. And I sobbed a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. It was very, very painful to just kind of let that go, just close that chapter, and that's just it. Not like I said before, it's not just the grief, but it's the guilt. And the vet was nice. She gave us like this keepsake. It's like a sand imprint. She like really quickly took his paw print, put it in this little lock box, a shadow box, and gave it to us, which was nice. That was nice. It was unexpected. I don't know if it was part of the package, honestly. I have no fucking idea. But, it was really fucking it was brutal holding him as he died, and being the reason that he died, choosing that day. That was hard. And then, we had it so he was like in this nest of blankets when he was gonna die. So it was gonna be easy to lift him with the blanket, create like a gurney, and carry him up a fucking hill because what is logic? Carry him up a hill in the middle of the fucking night, too. Excuse me. Emotional burps. And then, because I'm fucking crazy and I don't think things, I had to like go over a fence that I put up to put him in the backyard into the hole. I fell so hard. I like fucked my shit up. You can't see it, but thank goodness I was pretty drunk. I drank a whole bottle of white wine pretty quickly to help cope. And, I put him in the hole, wrapped him with the blanket. Uh, I had 13 dozen dried roses that I've had for a few years. I have about 100 dozen dried roses. I gave him one for each year. I put it in the hole. I put some of his toys. I spent, time writing a couple of handwritten letters about how much I loved him and how just getting it out, just that cathartic release of, trying to cope, giving the love that was still existed that I could not physically give to him. It needed to go somewhere. So I just wrote it all down. And I thought, if someone finds this dog's remains and all these little artifacts in whatever amount of time, at least they'll know how much he was loved. And I thought about the ancient Greeks and Romans who would bury their dogs with these grand tombstones that were carved with these beautiful poetic epaths or whatever they're called. And I just felt like that. I was like, oh shit, like, damn, man. So I put those letters in a glass jar. And then I put other things from, just our travels. I put dandelion seeds and garnet from Connecticut, Herkimer diamonds from New York, fossilized clamshells from Jersey, more fossils from just just paradots and things and squid tentacles that I found that have been preserved. I just skeleton keys too. Um, you know, my dogs were such a huge part of family for me, even more so than actual human relatives. And it's complicated. If you've seen my other videos, you know it's fucking complicated. But I had an unfinished cross stitch from my grandma. That was just like a house that kind of was reminiscent to her house, the house that I grew up in. And it had, I don't know, I put that in a jar too, and I was just like, you know what, puppy, like you'll always be home with me. Even if I move away, whatever, you're always home. And that's what that dumb fucking little cross stitch symbolized. And I put it all in there. I had baby's breath and cat tails and safflower, and I put those in the hole too, and then I just covered it up. And I buried my dog. And then I had, I don't know, 8 candles, 7 candles, six. I had a bunch, all my candles. That's why I only have one. I got my one candle. I gotta go get more candles because I made a circle around my dog. And I lit them, and I had a 3 foot fucking giant ass incense. And I lit that, and I let it burn all night. And I just, that was what I did. I prayed to Hecate to help guide my dog, I guess. I said a lot of words. I cried a lot. And, you want to know what was crazy too? This Hecate is like my main deity, right? And I have a cat. My cat does not like to go outside. He's allowed to go outside. He just chooses to not. Even when you bring him outside, he doesn't want to be out there. He wants to go back inside and be inside cat. I don't know. And there are other dogs. Like I have my younger dog, Starchy, who will run away if he gets out. So when I got my dead dog Bruce out of the house, I immediately closed the door because I don't want Starchy or the other dogs to run out. So buried Bruce, stayed with him with the candles and the incense and the moonlight, and I just, you know, I don't even know what I said. Probably more iterations of what I wrote, but just, you know, saying it out loud. And I also asked Hecate. My statue of her I had present at, when he was going to sleep. And I asked Hecate to just like make sure he gets to, where he needs to be and he's where he needs to be and he's on to the next adventure and all that good stuff. And, across a lot of different cultures, cats have been seen as, messengers, liaisons of the underworld, we'll say. And like I said, my cat's not really an outdoor cat. Door was fucking closed for 2 days after. No, for like a full 24 hours after, my cat was missing. Could not find him. He would come. He comes if you call him. If you're like, "Ps, ps, ps," he comes over to you. He does. He's so cute. Missing. Would put food out for him, untouched, completely gone. And I'm thinking, where the fuck is this cat? Well, if he got out, he'll come back. But why hasn't he come back already? So I'm calling him for hours. I'm calling this cat. I'm wandering the property looking for him. I was like, he always comes back. Like, where is he? And then late, like after dinner time, I go outside again to look for this fucking cat. And a, maybe 20, 25 feet up the hill to the right of where the dog is buried, there's a tree that's overturned, and there are what looks like two foxholes that go underneath the felled tree. I don't go there because the last time I went by that fucking overturned tree, there's a bunch of bees that come out and sting me, and not about it. So I'm walking by Bruce's grave, and I'm just like, where the fuck is this cat? And guess who the fuck pops out from the foxhole under the fallen tree? But kitty cat. And he does like his dumb little kitty, meh, his little meow. And then he like trots over to me, and I'm like, you fucker, where have you been? And then I really just got this sense of like, did Kitty help Piggy, my dog, get to the next adventure? I don't know. But it was strange. And then Kitty came inside with me, like it wasn't even a problem. And I'm like, it was just strange. Not sure at all how the cat got out. But uh it was hard. That memory is a lasting tribute. That fuckery, which I'm grateful for. I really don't know what else, to talk about. I feel like I kind of touched upon everything, what to expect. Oh, the after effects. It's been 2 weeks, and, today I got home from work and the dogs came up to me and I just thought, I was like, oh, where's Bruce? Is he in the bedroom? It's normal. It's normal to think about them and to miss them and still get emotional. It's normal. And that was why I took the last 2 weeks off. It's because I just needed to process. I really needed to process all the emotions that I was feeling, the sadness, the doubt, the guilt, whatever. Because there's always this feeling of like, did I do it too soon? And every person I asked, especially the people that were my support system during that time in particular, they were like, no, like, absolutely, you didn't do it too soon. Like, it was time. And, don't be afraid to ask people, like, hey, am I crazy? Is this too soon? It's okay to feel doubt if you're doing the right thing. I think those are normal feelings. Sometimes, or not sometimes, I have this feeling of I'm missing something, like I'm forgetting something. And I think it's just because I've been so used to seeing this dog everywhere, hearing him. He was so loud. such a rambunctious dog, and for that to be completely absent, it's almost like an uncomfortable silence. Um, oh, another thing to just be aware of, the day that I was to put him down, I felt so uncomfortable. I felt so anxious. Like I've never felt that kind of anxiety before. And, I even felt pretty shitty about myself, thinking like, I am so distraught over my dog. And I don't think I was this distraught over my grandparents. And again, grief is complex. There's no such thing as grieving right or wrong or feeling things right or wrong. Like, allow yourself to just feel and go through these emotions. Don't judge yourself, don't shame yourself. Just allow these emotions to just have a chance to come to the surface and be heard, and then you can move on from it. Like, I know this shit with my grandparents is so fucking complex, and I know that my dogs were more constant than than my grandparents were. So, even though on paper it might sound bad, I will give myself that validation and allow myself to move on to the next thing that needs to be worked out. The grief, the guilt, the sadness, the depression, the I don't know. Something that is really good to cope, I found, especially in the age of so much technology, is, especially on Instagram, I created highlights or reels where every single video I had of this dog, I uploaded, put it into a highlight, and then now I have three completely full highlights of mini videos and pictures of my dog that I can see whenever I want. Um, you know, some people might not understand too why we get so emotional about certain things, like the death of a pet. I wouldn't pay them any mind. Some jobs might not want to give you bereavement time, even if you have that benefit to use. Some people might not want to cover for you if you ask them to leave work early. Fuck them, dude. It's important to be present when situations like end of life are going down, even though it's really uncomfortable and really, really emotionally just, oh, Jesus Christ. I slept for like a week almost. It felt like I was just in a daze for the last week. And I guess this too is helping me cope, just talking about it. So I do appreciate, you for watching me break down and talk about my experience with putting my dog down, this dog that I've had for 13 years from a teeny tiny little puppy. And I really do hope that if anyone is going through this situation or a similar situation, you find, that you can reach out to me if you need some support, if you need some guidance. I definitely want to be a resource for people. I know how difficult it can be to go through certain things, and it's just made even more traumatic when you have to go through it alone. Um, so yeah, I I'm gonna see if anyone commented. So please bear with me. Yeah. All right. No, we don't have any. Okay, that's okay. We don't need comments. It's okay. Comments will come when they are meant to. So that is everything I wanted to talk about. If you have any questions or concerns about, euthanizing your pet or what to expect when it's time, definitely feel free to comment or message. I'll definitely try to get back to you as soon as I can. And definitely try to also be gentle with yourself while you're going through these, you know, feelings. Grief, especially when it's put off, can turn into something so much more complicated and gnarled. I think it's really important too, if you can, just take some time off of work and just really allow yourself to feel these emotions. Just cry. I know that I was trying to hold back my tears, but it's really, really okay to just let it all out and cry. Ugly cry, scream and cry, hysterically cry, whatever. And it might come in waves. I can't tell you how many times during last week I would go to work and I just break down. It's normal. You're grieving. You've lost someone. You've lost someone very important to you. And it's almost a way to honor the love and the relationship that you had when you give yourself time to express this emotion, this sadness or this regret or this longing. Whichever emotion that you identify as the strongest one, it's not wrong. I think it's just really important to explore those emotions and, like I said, let them come to the surface, breathe in some air, be seen, and then let it dissipate. By and again, I know that I was trying to not cry, but it's really okay to cry by pushing these emotions down and trying to force yourself to not feel them, not go through the stages of processing your grief. You're going to make it harder to process. You're going to make this harder to completely understand and get out because you're hiding it for a reason. You're not comfortable with it for a reason. And all of that is going to compound the core of that loss. Uh, but I know you can do it, my friend. I know it's hard. And as pet owners, this is something we've kind of signed up for. And it's a testament to how much you love your pet to decide that you're not going to allow them to suffer or decline to the point where a heart attack when they're left alone is the only probability for their death. You know what I mean? Like it is a brutal situation, but you have shown so much promise that you can get through the tough things. You are here working on your shadow self. You are here healing your inner child. You are here meeting yourself in new ways. You can do these hard things, like handle the end of life of your pet, like go through the grief, ugly, stinky, sticky fucking grief, man. And I'm sure I'm gonna be thinking about this dog for the next 5 to 10 years and still crying in my car before I get to work, or. I think it's also a good thing to think like your dog would do it for you. Your dog would give you a death with dignity if they had the same mental faculties and economic resources, right? We owe it to them. I definitely want to take a shower and have a good cry and maybe do a fuck ton of dabs. And not in a way to hide from what I'm feeling, but maybe in a way to just kind of facilitate the feeling. Really get into my body, really feel what I'm feeling, go into a warm, soothing place like the shower and just let it all overcome me. And if I dissolve into dust and particles from crying so hard, then so be it. That's authentic. Take some time to put yourself together, but you'll put yourself back together and you'll be stronger for it, right? At least that's what I'll tell myself in the shower. But I hope you guys have a good night. I'm not even gonna bother the meditative shit. I just want to get in the shower. But I hope you're having a good one, okay?
I'll see you guys on Monday when we discuss shadow work. Until then, ta-ta!